Chamber of Commerce Thursday afternoon. We welcome you to Goodyear, Arizona. Cactus League Baseball continues today from Goodyear Ballpark. And the Reds' opposition today, their brethren to the north in the Buckeye State, the Cleveland Indians. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Wells, Jim Day, and our entire Fox Sports Ohio crew, I'm Tom Brenneman. Delighted to have you with us today. We're getting down to the final week and a half leading up to opening day. Decisions to be made on the Reds' pitching staff, and we get a look at one of their big-time prospects starting today in Michael Lorenzen.
Well, Michael Lorenzen, you know, all we've heard about since he was the #1 pick a couple of years ago, Tom, is what great arm he's got. I mean, he's touched 100 miles an hour when he's been in the minor leagues. But what they're asking him to do this year is really jump from Double-A, where he pitched a little bit last year, all the way to the major league level. It's a whole different deal, you know. As you get farther up the food chain, you know, the strike zones get smaller, the hitters get better, and the same can be said for this time in spring training. The strike zones are smaller now than they were the first week, and they certainly are going to see a big league lineup out there against the Indians today.
The Reds are still flirting around if Lorenzen were to make the big league club. Is he a starter? Is he a reliever?
Well, that's a good question, because you can see right there, he was a two-way player in college when he went to Cal State Fullerton. They brought him in the outfield and then came in to close games, so he was a reliever there. He could just rely on his great fastball. You know, he was one of the guys that when the Reds picked him, he was probably the best athlete available. And now they're trying to take that athlete, turn him into maybe a starting pitcher. That is a work in progress, but this kid certainly has a world of potential.
We are excited to see him. We know you are as well. Danny Salazar will start it for the Indians. The first pitch, the Reds and the Tribe, coming up from Goodyear on Fox Sports Ohio. Yes, indeed. Temperatures hovering in the low 90s. They're expecting the high 90s moving in through the weekend out here in the desert. We welcome you to Goodyear, Arizona. Reds and the Indians today. Reds at 10-9-3 so far this spring. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup. Billy Hamilton in center field. Joey Votto again in the 2 spot. Todd Frazier bats third. Brandon Phillips at DH. Pat's cleanup. Devin Mesoraco, Brennan Bosch, Chris Dominguez. Bosch and Dominguez both having outstanding springs, as is Christopher Negron. Very interested to see him today, Chris, at shortstop. You and I talked about that in the last Reds game. When we start to see Nate Groen at short a little more. He's in there today. On the mound for the Indians, highly touted prospect. They're hoping that this will be the year Danny Salazar harnesses that talent, Chris, and puts it all together to become a big-time winner.
He's going to remind you a little bit of who the Red starter is today, and Michael Lorenzen. In fact, he's just a couple of years maybe ahead of Lorenzen as far as advancement. Young man with gifted arm, very hard thrower, big breaking ball, but when he gets it over and he brings his A game, I doubt that there are a few pitchers in the league that are a whole lot better stuff-wise than Danny Salazar. The question is, what does he bring on a daily basis? And this is a very big start for him. The Indians have to decide what their starting rotation is going to be. They really only need 4 starters for the first few weeks of the season due to off days, and Salazar right now is on that bubble. So he is motivated, I'm sure, to give a good effort for the Indians this afternoon.
Billy Hamilton to lead things off. He looks at a strike, and we are underway. Marcus Patillo, the home plate umpire. Quinn Walcott, Ryan Blackney, the umpires on the bases today. Fastball up and into Billy. So far this spring, Hamilton only 4 hits and 25 at bats. We saw him hit his only home run. That was leading off a game against these Indians the last time we were on the tube. St. Patrick's Day. In the air, and that one is out of play, and Hamilton behind in the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, big difference between this year in spring training for Billy and last year in spring training. He came in last year really hoping to impress everybody. He laid down a lot of bunts. He's not done that so far this year. He did injure his shoulder early in camp and had to sit out a while. He played a minor league game or games yesterday to get a lot of at bats, but you know, they're hoping that he is going to be 1 year better than he was last year, especially in the last half of last year.
Look at the Indians on defense. They have many of their regulars in the game, as you tend to see this time of spring, with a week and a half left to go leading up to the opener. Bourne in center. Moss has had a very nice spring since being able to play, coming off hip surgery. That is their regular infield today of Chisenhall, Ramirez, Kipnis, and Carlos Santana, and their regular catcher is Yan Gomes. Joey Votto has hit in the number 2 hole this entire spring, outside of 1 game. Chris, it certainly makes you wonder. Brian Price won't go on record yet as saying he's committed to Votto batting behind Billy Hamilton, but it certainly appears that's the way it's headed.
It doesn't make me wonder one bit. I'm almost convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're looking at your number 2 hitter, and it makes all the sense in the world from a number standpoint and also from a lineup dynamic standpoint. I mean, you know, sometimes that number 2 hitter in the order has to be the second leadoff guy, as in this case right here. Billy Hamilton makes it out. Now you're looking for a way to get this batter on second base. And what Joey Votto does when he's right is hit a lot of doubles.
He has gone quickly, back-to-back strikeouts for Danny Salazar, and that'll bring up Todd Frazier. For Votto, he has 5 hits and now 21 at-bats. But in the 21 at-bats, he has now struck out 10 times. Todd Frazier, 8 hits and 35 at-bats, 2 home runs. And 7 runs batted in. That is second only to Brennan Bosch, who has 3 homers and 9 runs batted in. Of course, the Reds are hoping to get Hamilton, as Chris mentioned, a year better. Votto, good health. Bruce, good health. Phillips, good health. And just keep on keeping on for the duo of Frazier and the man in the on deck, or rather 2 batters down, in Devin Mesoraco. Both getting a chance to play every day full-time last year. And that one is hammered into left field, and that's what Frazier did last year. 1-0 Reds here in the first inning.
Well, the difference for Todd Frazier, when he hits ahead of the count, he can guess fastball, but not only that, but he can guess fastball over the plate. And I'll tell you what, that is his zone right there. A little bit down and in, just enough to be able to get his arms extended, drop the hammer on it. Boy, when he hits it, it sounds different.
That'll bring up Brandon Phillips with 1 in, 2 out, and nobody on. And Brandon looks at a ball low. Frazier hit 29 home runs last year, and he stole 20 bases. One of only 5 players in the big leagues with a 2020 season. Played an outstanding third base. Good breaking ball there by Salazar to get ahead, 1-2. Chris, I'm sure you saw the article written earlier in the week. You know, 2 guys that have such a different outlook on hitting. Article that was written by Bob Nightingale in the USA Today about, you know, Brandon Phillips' approach, Joey Votto's approach.
Well, that was the same article in which Brandon Phillips said in that article, I thought it was very well written by Bob Nightingale, that the stat geeks in baseball are ruining the game. Now, I think he probably said that tongue-in-cheek, but it really goes to show you that Brandon is a throwback kind of a player. He's an old-fashioned player that he thinks about production in terms of RBIs and runs scored, where Joey Votto is thinking in terms of on-base percentage. We'll get more into that, but that's an interesting debate.
Salazar fans aside, but he allows a long, loud one to Todd Frazier. And the Reds, after a half inning, lead 1-0. All right, here we go, bottom half of the first inning. Terry Francona, the skipper of the Cleveland Indians in his 3rd year. They've had back-to-back excellent seasons. 2 years ago, a playoff team. Last year, they were not. Michael Bourne leads off, followed by Jason Kipnis and David Murphy, the DH. Big Carlos Santana at first, Brandon Lawson right, Jan Gomes catching. A latter third of Chisenhall, Holt, and Jose Ramirez. 23 years old, a native of Anaheim, California. The Reds' competitive lottery round pick, 38th overall in June 2013, is right-hander Michael Lorenzen.
Those are double-A numbers that you saw right there. Lorenzen is really just scratching the surface of what he can be. I mean, they say that his ceiling, and I think anybody who's even watched him throw a bullpen would agree, is just as good as he wants to be. He's been gifted with a tremendous arm. He's hit 90 miles an hour easily, and then he hits 100 miles an hour a few times when in the minor leagues. One of the few guys in camp that can do that. He may have the best breaking ball in camp this side of Aroldis Chapman. But the transition, though, from being a minor league pitcher where you're only going to go out there and be limited with your number of pitches each start, and you're pitching almost inside of a bubble, to going to the major leagues and starting a game, or even coming in long relief in a ball game where they're saying, here's the ball, young man, we need 5 innings out of you. That's a whole different story. It's a mental adjustment, and it also, of course, is a physical adjustment.
Lorenzen only has 1 full year of minor league baseball under his belt. He made 24 starts at AA Pensacola a season ago. Now, the year before, when he was drafted in the first round, they really kept an eye on the number of games. He only started 1 game and pitched in a little more than 20 others out of the bullpen. Bourne aboard with a single. And a strike 1 to the number 2 hitter. They're hoping for a big bounce back year from their all-star of 2013, Jason Kipnis.
What I do like about Lorenzen, Tom, is if you watch his delivery, not just out of the stretch, but out of the full windup too, it's very simple. He doesn't have a lot of moving parts. He doesn't have a lot of things that can go wrong in that delivery that's going to throw his command off.
Now, his last outing, Chris, for whatever reason, and perhaps you have an explanation for it, was totally out of whack. His first 3 outings, he had walked only 2 batters. And then take a look there. 6 walks in his 2 innings Friday against the Giants.
You know, if a veteran has a game like that, you write it off and say, well, I'm glad it happened in March and not April. But when you're on the bubble trying to make the ball club, you've got to come up with a better excuse than that.
Well, a 2-strike breaking ball there. The Kipnis lines right back through the middle, and consecutive singles open the Cleveland first inning.
Well, the Indians are an interesting story today because they're going to run a lot of left-handers out there against Michael Lorenzen. First one, Michael Bourne hits a ball opposite field, gets a base hit. Here's another lefty going right back up the middle on a breaking ball. This is where, if you're a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, curveball, that curveball is not going to be nearly as effective against a left-hander as it is a right-hander.
Been a lot of trade rumors surrounding David Murphy. The Indians are loaded, like a lot of American League teams are, with guys that are first baseman, DH, maybe a part-time outfielder. Murphy more than a part-time outfielder. High bouncer down to third, and the only play is to first. So Bourne on to third, Kipnis into scoring position. That's out number 1. Carlos Santana came up as a catcher. And when they acquired Yan Gomes, they moved him over to first base. Cleveland with runners at second and third, 1 out in the inning, and now Santana jumps on a fastball, hooks it foul. Strike 1 to Carlos Santana. Now, we had an extended conversation with Reds pitching coach Jeff Pico just before the game today. You know, how long would he like to see Lorenzen out there on the mound? He said a good solid 3 innings. No more than 65 pitches would be the goal. In the air right field, and this will tie the game. Bruce to step onto the warning track. Or Brennan Bosch, I beg your pardon. That's a sac fly RBI. The plate's Bourne. And it's 1-1 in the bottom of inning number 1.
Batting fifth, the right fielder, number 44, Brandon Moss.
Well, continuing that conversation with Jeff Pico, he said, you know, starting today, we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty, we being the staff, manager Brian Price, Walt Jocketty, all of the baseball operations people, as to, you know, where are we with player A, player B? And as that pertains to the man on the mound, do you send him to AAA as a starter? Does he still have a chance to be a starter in the Reds rotation? Would you consider pitching him at the big league level for the first time out of the bullpen? Jam shot roller down to third. That's a pretty nice recovery right there by Lorenzi. After back-to-back hits, retires 3 in a row, does give up a run. At the end of one, we're tied at 1. By McDonald's, guarantee your Nasty Boys triple bobblehead and get 6 free McDonald's extra value meals. Plus, pick 5 additional games of your choice, including Super Saturdays featuring 9 bobblehead days. 765-7500, or you can always log on to Reds.com/pick6. So many great ticket plans and specials throughout the entire year. Some unbelievable getaways. As always, the Friday night fireworks show. Can't wait to get it started. Hard to believe, Chris, a week from Monday. Of course, you've been here almost the entire spring. I have not.
I think there are a lot of people here that are, despite the beautiful weather we've had in Goodyear, Arizona, are ready to get home and get that season underway.
2-1 on Devin Mesoraco.
And right now, the long-range forecast, according to Pat Barry, who's going to be part of our big show for opening day,
yes,
is that he can't predict it perfectly yet. But the trend is that it's going to be pretty good weather. Maybe not as nice as it was last year, but probably in the 50s right now. No sign of rain. And, hey, I'm checking in with Pat on a daily basis to make sure that he takes care of that part of the deal.
We have had some very odd weather back on the home front of late. Yesterday was 70 degrees and sunny. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm told today, sleet, rainy, 40s. So if it's 50, opening day,
you'll take that.
All day, every day. Our opening day coverage will begin from Washington Park and the Banks. High drive. Deep left center field, and that baby just continues to carry. Second home run for the Reds. Frazier, now Mesoraco.
Well, 2 of the home run breakout guys from last year have already done it so far today. Todd Frazier boomed one down the left field line, and that one goes easily into the berm out there. And both on fastballs. Out a 2-2 fastball from Danny Salazar. You know, in watching Salazar pitch, Tom, and I haven't seen him pitch that much. I do know that this is a big start for him. But every pitcher has what a lot of pitching coaches refer to as a beat of balance. What speed does your tempo work at best. Some guys are slow and deliberate, like Johnny Cueto, for instance, who has a big turn, and the slower the better for Cueto until he explodes to the plate. It seems sometimes that Salazar goes in and out of different speeds. On some pitches from his full windup, he's going real fast. On the next pitch, he's going real slow. He just hasn't found that comfortable beat of balance here yet this spring.
There are some that see the Indians play regularly that are beginning to wonder, and at his age, by no means has the jury reached a verdict yet. But some are beginning to wonder, Chris, if Salazar is not on the brink of being all potential and not delivering the goods.
Well,
Lord knows he's getting a chance again.
You're right, but you would also know that if the Indians decide to give up on him with an arm like this, there'll be a line of other teams waiting.
Sure. Pull to the right side. That'll trickle into right field. A base hit by Bosch, who continues his solid spring, trying to win a job as a backup with the Reds, as is the man who comes to the plate now, Chris Dominguez. Both of them could end up making this team.
They could, and really when camp began, you would have to say both of these guys would have been long shots. Dominguez and Bosch have played all around the place, meaning infield and outfield. They've played in a lot of different games. They've gone on the road. They've played in B games. And they've both shown some power. And I think that's the one thing the Reds are looking for off their bench that they have not had the last couple of years.
They really haven't. You go back 3 years ago, and that's when Chris Heisey led the major leagues in pinch hit home runs. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, that power, at least off the bench, disappeared.
I guess the interesting thing about Dominguez is that he can play infield, around the infield. I mean, you're not going to start him at the shortstop very often or second base, but he can play third. He's played first. But you don't get that kind of power from more normal middle infielders. And that's where Dominguez kind of sets himself apart from some of the other guys who have been competing for places on this ball club. Irving Falou being one of them. Ivan DeJesus Jr., who's had a very good spring, came in here and was a non-roster player trying to nab a job.
I think we both agree Jason Bourgeois more than likely would have made this team had he not injured his shoulder.
Injured his shoulder a few weeks actually before it became apparent that he had a broken shoulder. Talked to Jason before the game today, and he's long road to recovery, still in a sling. He broke a part of his scapula diving for a ball, or actually diving into a base.
I think we all would agree Chris Negron has been the best player during this Cactus League season for the Reds. No matter where you've asked him to play, he's been sensational in the field. He has hit 15 hits in 37 at-bats, and just grows more and more confident seemingly by the day, something we talked a little bit about, comparing, say, Christopher Negron's spring training 14 versus now.
Well, he's made a believer out of some of the coaches, too, and I think that is very important for Negron. In fact, Jay Bell absolutely loves this kid. And Jay Bell, of course, being the bench coach, has some say. Asked Jay the other day, I said, do you think Negron can play shortstop? I mean, if you have a situation where you're not getting much offensive production out of shortstop, like the Reds did last year, Cozart having an off year, can Negron push him a little bit? He takes a breaking ball there off the back. No harm done. And Jay Bell was absolutely yes. So that's an interesting dynamic that the Reds have not had over the last few years, where you have a substitute knocking on the door saying, hey, I'm as good as, or maybe even better as the guy you're playing in front of me. Give me a chance, and the chance he's getting here is in spring training.
Well, you mentioned the name Ivan DeJesus Jr., and Brian Price went on and on and on talking about how impressed he has been with DeJesus Jr. during this Reds camp, his first year as a Red. He's bounced around a little bit. His father, of course, played in the major leagues for 15 years with a number of different teams. So he grew up around the game and is just looking for that chance and is trying to make the most of it. 9 hits, 25 at-bats. It's a .360 batting average, and he's walked 3 times. has only struck out twice. Reds leading 2-1. They have 2 on with 1 out against Salazar here in the second inning. Hit hard, but right at Bourne in center, and that'll be the second out. Stung into right field, a base hit. This will bring in another run for the Reds as Bosch scores from second. Hamilton sliding in with a run-scoring double. 1 in the first, a pair here in the second, and a 3-1 Cincinnati lead.
Now the Reds are jumping all over that Danny Salazar fastball. He's throwing it pretty much thigh high, and here on the first pitch to Billy Hamilton, got a couple of runners on base, needs to make a pitch to get out of the inning, and he throws one right down Broadway, and there Hamilton is to rip it around.
Joey Votto struck out his first time up. He has runners at second and third with 2 away here in the Reds' second inning. Breaking ball, that's a good,
really good pitch right there. Not only is it a breaking ball, but very nicely placed right in the mitt where Yan Gomes had it on the inner part of the plate. You know, normally during the regular season, this would be a spot where Votto might be pitched around. How about that? Back-to-back breaking balls, and Joey doesn't like that one. First was a curveball. That's a changeup.
One and two on Votto. Runners at second and third with 2 away in the inning. Line into center field. That'll be a base hit. 1 run will score. A second run will score. Votto a 2-out 2-run single. A 4-run second inning for the Redlegs.
Boy, good job by Votto right there. He hit a breaking ball after seeing 2 previous breaking balls in the at-bat for strikes. After wasting a pitch high and away, Salazar throws it hittable on the outer part of the plate, but Votto does a nice job of a line drive to picks up a couple of runs. Where you see more of that out of Joey Votto, and the offensive woes that this ball club had last year might begin to evaporate.
Boy, it was tough to watch. Out of 32 teams a year ago, the Reds 29th in batting average, 29th in on-base percentage, 28th in runs scored. They had their worst year since 2008 overall. 76 up, 86 down. 1-run losses, Chris, were a key for the Reds last year. The most in Major League Baseball. Of their 86 defeats last season, 38 of those were by a single run. Boy, that's where that offense could really make a big difference if everybody's healthy and doing what they're supposed to do and have done. It's not like you're hoping for somebody to do something they've never done.
Well, the bright side of that is that you're in the game. I mean, are you just 1 hit away from winning that ball game, or did you make a late rally to come back and make it closer than it really was? I mean, you know, there are experts out there, and I don't claim to be one of them, that will say that those 1-run games can go either way. I mean, some years you have them where you're winning all of them. Other years you're playing 500. There are some years where you just can't buy a win. What do you think?
You would not consider yourself to be one of them? Is that what you said?
Not one of those experts, no.
Well, what category is that, those experts?
Well,
what does
the
that
experts
mean?
in one-run games. What do you think about the one-run games?
I think good teams find a way to win them. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't find a team that won 94 games last year that, let's say, had a losing record in one-run games. Because, of course, you can. I mean, if I remember right, it was, 2 years ago when the Cardinals had one of the worst records in one-run games of all teams in Major League Baseball. We know they had a really good team, a great team. I think a big reason the Reds had a lot of those one-run losses last year, where we have seen them win a lot of those games in recent years, was because for the first time really in 5, 6, 7 years, the Reds did not have a great bullpen. Forget about good bullpen. They had a 5-year run prior to last year where they were in the top 3 in all of Major League Baseball in most of the pertinent statistical categories that you look for out of a bullpen. Not just earned run average, but inherited runners, opponent's batting average, all those kinds of things. And last year it was ugly.
Well, I think a lot of times the downfall of a bullpen coincides with the downfall of your starting rotation. If you start exposing that bullpen too early in the year and too much, they run out of gas towards the end. And I think that was one of the reasons the Reds really had such a problem down the stretch with that bullpen. They were gassed.
Well, Frazier nearly clubbed his second home run in as many at-bats. He'd like to have that pitch back. The Reds were Exhibit A of disputing the long-held baseball adage that you win with pitching and defense. At least starting pitching and defense. Their starting pitching numbers overall again last year were excellent, and have been for a number of years. You go back to 2010, they have the 9th lowest overall team ERA in baseball. Their starters ranked in the top 5, 3rd in the league in ERA. So it looked good until guys started to get hurt. Bailey got hurt, missed a lot of time. Latos was in and out of the lineup. We'll get back to that later. The Reds score 4 times against Salazar in the 2nd inning, and they have scored 5 times
And enjoying the Reds and Indians here on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. Big story of camp is that Johnny Cueto is back. He joins us now along with interpreter Tomas Vera. And first of all, it went back to the Dominican. I understand his mother had open heart surgery. We send our prayers to her. How is she doing, and was it tough to leave, I guess?
Primeramente, rezamos y te mandamos por lo de tu mamá. Regresaste a tu mamá por la salud de tu mamá. ¿Tú pudieras hablar un poco qué pasó con eso y cómo está tu madre?
Bueno, primeramente le doy gracias a Dios, todo salió bien, que espero que siga recuperándose lo más rápido que ella pueda y nada, me siento bien.
Well, first of all, I thank God because everything went well. I mean, went really good with my mom, and I hope she continued to recover the way she's doing so far, and everything has been so far being okay, and I feel good.
Well, we're glad to hear that, Johnny, for sure. Were you able to get work in down there, missing an extended period of time here in Goodyear?
Bueno, estoy contento que tu mamá esté bastante bien. ¿Estuviste disponible tú para poder hacer un tipo de trabajo allá en Dominicana cuando estabas allá, ya que perdiste el tiempo aquí?
Bueno, sí, yo estaba manteniéndome corriendo y parando, pero todo está bien por ahora y nada.
Well, yeah, I keep myself working out. I was running every day, and I was also throwing, playing catch a lot. So, but everything is okay. I feel good right now.
Going forward here, is the plan for him to throw in a minor league game next and then a regular game? And does he have any concerns of being ready for opening day?
Bueno, hablando en el futuro, pues de aquí en adelante vas a lanzar en las ligas menores mañana y después tienes una apertura más acá. ¿Tú piensas, hay alguna duda en ti? ¿Tú piensas que hay algo que tú tienes que todavía trabajar más para estar listo?
Bueno, no, yo eso mañana tiré ese juego ahí, lo más 5 o 4, dependiendo cómo me sienta, y está ready ya para el opening day. Estamos ready, si Dios quiere.
Well, no, not really. Tomorrow I'm going to throw 4 or 5 innings, depending how I feel. Through that game tomorrow and see how I feel. But, I feel ready. I feel that I'm ready to go, and just let's go.
Gracias. Glad to hear things are going well with your mom.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, boys, it's good news here. Johnny Cueto came back to camp last night and was in camp in uniform today. And, again, the plan is to have him throw in a minor league game, then a regular game, and he has no concerns for opening day.
Well, it's great to have him back, and we certainly send our thoughts and prayers to his mom on a speedy recovery. Jim, you must have been working on your Spanish during the offseason. Did you just drop a gracias on Johnny Cueto?
The simple things I can figure out. Yes. It's one of those things that I actually took like 4 years through high school and college of Spanish and obviously didn't retain much.
Yeah, but you know what? You're getting it going now.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Swinging a foul ball out of play, you know what?
The littlest of things, Tom, I can figure out.
But you know what? I admire that you're not afraid to try it.
Oh, yeah, I can drop an hola. Como está, bien, gracias, simple things.
Chris, what do you think of that?
I think it's pretty good. For a guy that only took 4 years, that retention level is very high. That's about what I retained, except I did pick up a couple extra phrases while down in winter ball. One was, I can order a beer and I can ask where the bathroom is.
Baño.
You got it, too. Yep.
Thank you. That ball in the left center field, and a diving play made by Billy Hamilton. Well, we watched him do it all year last year. Generally, rookies will not be awarded with a gold glove, even if deserving, and I think we both felt Hamilton was deserving.
Well, he makes the outfield just seem so small. And that's the biggest thing for Hamilton, is that you can have your corner outfielders play much more straight away, maybe even towards the lines a little bit, and let him cover the center field and the gaps. Guy closes down and he not only does he have tremendous speed, he's got great routes to the ball. Doesn't circle him up, he goes right to the spot.
One on, one out, and now Mike Avila's the left fielder. Looks at ball one from Michael Lorenzen. Fastball just under the knees. Lorenzen enters this season rated as the 4th best prospect in the Reds organization, behind fellow right-hander Robert Stevenson, Doug Russ, Raisel Iglesias, who could well end up in the Reds starting rotation right from the get-go this year. And then outfielder Jesse Winker. But boy, you look at the top 10. We've talked about it so frequently this spring. The pitchers, Chris, if they stay healthy and continue to develop, very exciting looking to the future.
Well, this is what every director of minor leagues wants, is this type of a corral of arms down there. And the Reds have tremendous arms, not just from a standpoint of being able to throw hard, but guys that are now up in the upper levels of the minor leagues that have made some times in the big leagues. Of course, Anthony DeSclafani, rated number 6 among Baseball America's top 10 prospects with the Reds. He's going to be in the rotation. He pitched tremendous last night. But these other guys that are on the rise, Iglesias will probably be in the rotation. Robert Stevenson still throwing around 100 miles an hour. And the guy on the mound today may be the best of all.
Knocks down the comebacker to the mound, does Lorenzen. Throws out Aviles, 2 away, and Gomes on to second base. Number 9 hitter, the Indians' regular shortstop, Jose Ramirez.
And I'm not saying that any of the other guys on the list, Nick Travioso or Howard or anybody else, are not on their way up. They all are. But it's so nice to see some internal competition. It's not just one guy we're waiting on, like Homer Bailey. When he came through the system, he seemed like he was the only guy that the Reds had that we were waiting on. Now we're talking about 3, 4, 5 guys who can come up, and they may be the guy. Reds have done a great job in the last few years, scouting, developing. Spent some time down there in the minor league camp watching some of these teams play, Tom, and I'll tell you, it's really great to see.
In the air, Lorenzen called off by Joey Votto in foul ground, and that will end the inning. Leadoff single, Gomes left in scoring position. We play 2, and the Reds lead by 4.
With myself and Chris Welsh on the final edition of Reds Weekly Spring Training. Our hour-long season preview hits the air at 10 o'clock this Monday night right here on Fox Sports Ohio. One guy you're going to hear from is stepping up to the plate right now. That would be second baseman Brandon Phillips.
If I stay healthy, then I'm going to surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people forget what I can really do, but a lot of people got to realize that I'm going to stay on the field and go out there and play the game because I have one career, you know. I mean, I go out there and play with a handicap as long as my name in the lineup brings some kind of presence and I show guys that it's okay to play hurt. I mean, if that's what I have to do, I'm going to do that.
Guys, he showed up to camp about 15 pounds lighter, which is good for anyone in their mid-30s. He's healthy. If he stays healthy, he says he is going to surprise a lot of people this year. We hope that's the case.
Tell you what, Jimbo, I'll never put anything past this young man. You know, despite all his flair, both on the field, off the field, Great smile, very engaging, outgoing personality, all those things we know and love about Brandon Phillips. Maybe more than anything else, what tends to get overshadowed is something he briefly mentioned there, and that is this guy's toughness. Each of the last 3 years, he has played through major injuries. That pitch he got hit on the left arm 2 years ago, when he was having the best season of his major league career, he wound up knocking in 103 runs that year, but continued to play and could barely even move the left arm. All the other numbers started to spiral after he was hit by Garrett Cole, if I remember right. Is that right? It got him with a fastball?
I believe so.
This guy is a gamer. Diving play made at second base. That's a really nice play made by Kipnis to throw out Brandon, one away.
One second baseman to another. Brandon takes enough of those away from opposing teams. Now he's on the other end of it. Kipnis makes a nice play because he gets a good jump. Throwing from his knees right on the money. Yeah, that's one area we talked about in a couple of the other broadcasts we had this spring, Reds versus Indians. The Indians did not catch the ball very well last year. One area where Terry Francona and Brad Mills are just trying to improve, even marginally, would make them much better, being able to catch and throw.
Well, they committed the most errors of all teams in Major League Baseball last year. And look no further for defense helping to lead the turnaround than the Angels 2013 to 2014. The Angels were the worst defensive team in the American League in 13. Last year, they improved to the top 5. And, of course, they wound up winning the American League West. It really is, Chris, isn't it? And you talk about this a lot. It is so basic. Now, the execution is not basic. It's extremely difficult. But some of the little things turn into the huge things. You give other teams an additional out or two multiple times in a game, in a week, in a month, in a season, you are going to have a hard time overcoming those mistakes.
Well, there are so many low-scoring games now. They're not 10-8 like they were during the steroid years. They're low-scoring. Pitching is dominating. You're bringing guys out of the bullpen throwing 100 miles an hour. So when you do give your team, a team, another chance, another out, and they score a run or two. So instead of the third out of the inning being made, now there's an error by the first baseman. The guy goes to third. Next thing you know, they get a base hit. They bring a couple of runs in, and now you lose by 1 run. And this is where I think that the Indians can get a whole lot better. The Reds are one of the top defensive ball clubs in baseball and top pitching clubs, and they go hand in hand.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Reds scored 1 in the first on a home run by Frazier. The Indians tied the game in the bottom of the inning. The Reds struck for 4 against Salazar in the second inning. Home run by Mesoraco. Got a 2-run single by Votto. RBI double by Billy Hamilton.
Yeah, is it any coincidence that the 2 guys the Reds are looking at to be bench players this year, Brennan Bosch and Chris Dominguez, are both big guys? Bosch is 6'4", 235. I think Dominguez is at least 6'4", maybe 245. Big, strong guys. Bosch last year, 25 home runs in Salt Lake in the Pacific Coast League. I don't think there's any question the Reds are looking for a little pop.
The versatility is something you touched on earlier with both Bosch and Dominguez. It's very impressive that you can watch Bosch, for example. We've seen him a number of games in center field. Then he can turn around and come back and play first base. Dominguez infield and outfield, as you brought up earlier. To have that kind of flexibility when you're a manager getting late into games and double switches and all that kind of thing in National League Baseball, that's a big advantage.
Well, and the other thing I think is these guys have been around a little bit. You know, you may want to say Bosch is one of those 4A players. He's now 29 years old. Chris Dominguez is 27 or 28. So they're not like these young guys just coming up. They've had some experience. Chase is a bad one there.
First scoreless inning for the Reds against Salazar. Middle of the third. Reds lead it 5-1. Is back in 2015 with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. Stay connected with live radio broadcast stats, breaking news, and so much more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Let's take a look a week from Monday, the day after Easter Sunday. Our opening day coverage, 10 o'clock. It begins. We have the Findlay Market Parade starting at noon. A 90-minute Reds Live pregame show. The entire on-field ceremony, the introduction of both teams. Chris Welsh will be a huge part of that, along with Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Pecoro, Jim Day, and company. Pirates and the Reds tee it up at 4 o'clock on opening day, followed by Reds Live, the post-game show. Johnny Cueto v. Francisco Liriano in the season opener, Monday, April the 16th. And we invite you to join us all day long, starting bright and early Monday morning.
Well, it's going to be a good day. You know, Tom, I've given you about a week to decide. But if you don't mind, I've taken a liberty to check with a couple of different sources to see if they had any official obligations that day. Fortunately, I've received the answer that you are wide open on opening day, and I would invite you again to walk with me during the parade, hand in hand.
I'm in.
Well, you're my man. Thank you. Good job.
You know, it's one of those, it's like I read a story the other day where one of the great supermodels in the world, I just happened to trip across this, filing through the Drudge Report, and I saw that this supermodel had made the comment that, hey, I never got asked out in high school, as hard as that might be to believe. All it took, Chris, was a simple invitation. Come join us.
Thank you.
For the Findlay Market Parade.
I'm happy to be accompanied by you, the supermodel.
Can't wait.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. There's a drive into left center field. That baby's headed for the gap, and it bounces up and over the wall. It's a second hit the other way, and as many at-bats from Michael Bourne. He hit that ball a long way.
Michael Bourne seemed like in this at-bat like he would have preferred to lay a bunt down. But he finally got a pitch that he had to swing at. A couple of strikes on him, and he lines this ball a long way going off it.
Now, I do have to ask you one question, though, in all seriousness about the Findlay Market Parade.
Okay.
I can't remember a year in recent years where we've had really bad weather. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
it's been good weather. Last few years, you're right. The parade has been sensational.
Have you ever had to ride through or walk through the parade, say, in freezing rain?
No.
Or anything like that?
No.
What would be your strategy and or game plan should that occur? Bourne will stay at second base. And a throw, tag made by Votto, and that'll take care of Kipnis, one away in the inning.
I normally pack a
poncho,
an extra umbrella, poncho. I'll bring an umbrella for you, and you'll be all good to go.
Okay. Let's double check. I know you always come ready.
Maybe if you have some rain gear, you ought to wear it, because we're not going to let a little bit of rain keep us down. I mean, there are going to be people out on the parade route anyway. I mean, the Fox girls will be there. Fox Sports Ohio will be well represented with a lot of different things going on. Jim Day will be calling it.
Yeah, Jim Day will be one of the host of the Findlay Market Opening Day Parade. Our coverage right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Jim, any word yet, any official word yet on your co-host? I know there were negotiations. I don't know if they got very far with Katie Couric on that. Where does all that stand?
I think we're going with Luke Brenneman.
He would love to do it.
He'd have to skip school, wouldn't he?
Which is precisely why he would love to do
it. In all honesty, we are happy to welcome in Tricia Mackey, who is the main news anchor.
Yeah.
The Fox affiliate, Channel 19 in Cincinnati. Her and I will be doing the parade, and she will be carrying me throughout the broadcast.
Well, that is very exciting.
Jim, have you ever called a parade from the booth, so to say?
Never. We'll be making it up as we go.
Have you been watching, people like Matt Lauer, somebody like that? Ohio University's very own, I might add. Have you been watching any of his videos, like with a Macy's parade?
Haven't had the time, so it's going to be learning on the fly. But we're going to have fun. We're going to have a really nice setup at Washington Park with the parade right behind us. and we'll be guaranteed to mess with you when you guys come by.
I can't wait.
Yeah. That might be the highlight of the parade for us. Better than people throwing things at us like they will probably earlier in the parade when they finally recognize who we are.
Why better load up? Skies or something. High pop-up. Short left field. Waiting is Dominguez, and for a second straight inning, Lorenzen allows a leadoff hit, but no damage in the runs category. End of 3. Reds in front 5-1.
On to the 4th inning. Indians and Reds here in your home for Reds baseball, Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day in the dugout. My pleasure to welcome in the shortstop for the Reds. He is Zach Cozart. How's camp going for you?
Going well. You know, you can see it today. You know, there's a difference in our dugout. You know, with the energy, and you know, we're excited to prove to people, you know, why we think we're going to be good, and a lot of people are kind of counting us out, but you know, we have all the confidence in the world.
Well, I love you admitting that you know that people are counting you out. A lot of guys will block that out of your brain, but that has to be motivation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I personally, you know, I see stuff like that. You know, I'm sure these other guys do too. And, you know, all that matters is in this dugout, in the locker room, you know, we know what kind of team we have when we're healthy. You know, ever since I've been up, we've been a winning team. Last year we had a lot of injuries, and it was tough. So we got, you know, our health back. Homer's getting better. And we're looking forward to proving some people wrong. I
know that you have a tremendous amount of motivation as well, not necessarily to quiet people, but to prove, or not to prove, but to help your teammates out on improving on your offensive stats this year.
Yeah, you know, I think no matter how good or bad you did the year before, you want to come out and do, you know, better the next year. You know, last year obviously wasn't, you know, my best, but I worked hard this offseason, worked hard so far in spring training and tried to correct some stuff, and I feel a lot better at the plate. And like you said, you know, I used that last year as motivation. I think it's going to make me better.
I don't want you to give away any trade secrets to pitchers, but what have you been working on offensively this spring?
You know, trying to be in the action more. You know, my load last year with my hands wasn't as, you know, as crisp as it should have been. So, you know, I've been really consistent so far in spring, you know, getting that load like I was a couple years ago. And because last year my power wasn't there, you know, I'm not going to hit 25 home runs, but I did have double-digit homers and 30 doubles until last year. So that's what I want to get back to, kind of driving the ball gap to gap and running into some home runs.
Well, we're looking forward to that, and as always, looking forward to you picking it at shortstop because you're one of the best in the game. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks.
All right, that's Zach Cozart looking for better things in 2015, and if he does, that'll go a long way in solidifying this lineup.
Well, you're right about that, Jim. You know, Cozart mentioned it. The 2 years prior to last year, For a middle infielder who, by and large is batting down in the batting order, that one ripped foul by Negron. 2 years ago, this guy had 15 home runs. He had 33 doubles. That was 3 years ago. In 2013, he had 30 doubles, 12 home runs, 63 runs batted in. Also led the league in sacrifices. In sacrifice flies, he led the National League. He was a more than adequate, certainly better than average offensive player, especially at shortstop and especially batting so far down in the batting order. And then last year, in every category, the numbers fell off the table. Not only home runs, RBIs, his batting average was 33 points lower than the year before. So, Chris, if they get the Zach Cozart from 12 or 13 rather than the one from 14, that improves the offense tremendously, not even including good health, Tovado, Phillips, Bruce, Marlon Byrd now in left field, to go with the kind of seasons Mesoraco and Frazier had, and Hamilton, his second year in the major leagues.
I think, Tom, a lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to hit in the 8th hole in the lineup. In the National League, got the pitcher coming up next, and there's really no reason when a pitcher gets behind on the count to come right after you. Whereas if you've got Joey Votto hitting behind you, then maybe you're going to be more inclined to get some fastballs. Or if you have some protection in the lineup, the 8-hitter has no protection, and it takes a different mindset. And I think that's one thing that Zach, had a tough time getting used to. We saw him chase a lot of pitches last year. He batted the majority of the time, in the 8th spot, and it's a difficult place to be, and maybe 1 year will get him a little bit more adjustment to that.
Negron hit by a pitch his first time up and scored one of the 4 runs the Reds put up on the board in the second inning after scoring a run in the first and a home run by Frazier. 5 runs, 6 hits for the Reds, 1 run, 4 hits for the Indians against Michael Lorenzen.
Look at where Cozart hit last year. Not last year, but in the 2013 when he had 64 runs batted in. He didn't bat 8th very much. He batted 2nd. He batted 7th. So he had some everyday players. Obviously in the 2nd spot had the best hitter in the ball club batting behind him. So it makes a big difference, and I think that fall off right there. I'm glad to see his attitude here is the way it is. I'm also glad to see, guys like the player at the plate right now, pushing him a little bit. Negron has shown that he can play around the infield, and I think that there's some people thinking that, hey, if you don't have good offense from your shortstop, we've got an option here, at least to give you a little bit of time off to work on some things. In the past few years, the Reds have not had that luxury. Their backup players were true backup players.
Dominguez aboard to begin this Reds 4th inning against Salazar. And Negron waiting on a 3-2 pitch while the runners start. He will, and Negron for the 2nd straight time hit by a pitch. First time a breaking ball, that time a fastball.
Unfortunately, that one did not get him as flush as the first one. Salazar really all over the place. For a guy that needed a really good outing here today while he's on the bubble to try to make this Indians rotation. He has been wild, ineffectively wild. What I mean by that is that when oftentimes a pitcher is wild outside the zone, he's wild inside the strike zone. And the Reds have popped a couple of home runs off of him.
Now they got one by Frazier in the first inning. They got a long home run as well by Mesoraco leading off the second. And now the number 9 hitter, Ivan De Jesus Jr. with 2 on and nobody out. Well, they ask him to bunt. He's been doing a lot of that this spring. Swings at the first pitch, down a strike.
Sometimes you give the hitter one swing, and then after that you put a play on.
Well, the Indians are not buying any of that. Santana plays behind the runner at first, and a good 10 feet behind the bag at third is Chisenhall. One and two.
You know, Salazar is interesting because he had a year last year in which he struck out more than one batter for every inning. So no one ever questions his stuff. But today I'm seeing everything that he throws is up in the zone. For a guy that could really use a ground ball right here, he's throwing everything letter high or above.
Pretty good breaking ball right there to strike out De Jesus Jr. for the first out here in the fourth inning. 6 strikeouts for Salazar.
Yeah, I got this one down, no doubt about it. That looks like the changeup. I'm not sure if he throws a circle change or a splitter, but that ball went right off the table. That'll be his last batter.
I'm sure he's walking off the mound disappointed in this outing, knowing where he stands in the Indians' plans, at least going into this game. Reds have a 5-1 lead here in the fourth. And we'll introduce you to the new pitcher when we return. Sunday history will be made in Martinsville, Virginia. The first ever NASCAR Sprint Cup points race will be broadcast on Fox Sports 1. Kurt Busch looking to defend his title from last season in the first short track race of the year. That's Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Fox Sports 1. Streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Mark Zipchenski, left-hander. We've seen him in the past with the Cardinals, among others. And he's on to face Billy Hamilton, who turns around about right-handed. Hamilton 1 for 2 in the game, knocked in a run with a double his last time up. You see the spelling of that last name? Scott Snyder up here in the booth reminds us his nickname is Scrapple. It's a pretty good nickname.
Yeah. I played with a catcher years ago named Doug Goosh. That's the way you pronounce it, but it was spelled about like Zepchinski did. And we used to call him Eye Chart.
It's another good one.
Yeah.
2 on and 1 out. And that one into right field. Nice piece of hitting there by Hamilton. They're going to hold Dominguez as they fire it quickly back into the infield from the right fielder Brendan Moss.
Really good hitting so far in this inning by the Reds. Chris Dominguez took a 2-strike pitch and hit it the other way. This time 2-0 to Billy Hamilton, and he gets a fastball. He uses that hole on the right side. Now here's the matchup that has happened before. You talk about Szepczynski coming into a ball game for the Cardinals. Oftentimes he would come in called in to face Joey Votto. So midseason form, we would tell you, hey, against Szepczynski, Joey Votto is 3 for 9 with an RBI and a couple of strikeouts.
Strike one.
Nowhere to put him.
Votto with a 2-out, 2-strike, 2-run single to center field in the second inning. And the Reds have them loaded here in the fourth. Back to the screen. Here comes Dominguez. He will easily score. And the Reds now lead it 6-1.
That's a cross up all the way right there. They're going to give a pass ball decision to the catcher Gomes. Looks like he was looking breaking ball and he got a fastball.
Now Joey Votto asking for time as the umpires working with a 3-man crew today. They move around on the base paths, their coverage areas. Second and third, 1 out. Good pitch here in the inside corner. Strike 2.
This is where Votto did the damage last time. Salazar went 0-2 breaking balls, wasted one, and then came back with another breaking ball, and that's where Votto got his base hit. You know, I'm not so sure when you get a guy with as good an idea of the strike zone as Joey Votto, it does you any good at all to waste a pitch when you go 0-2.
Bouncer over the mound will bring in a run. Waited from third is Negron. 3 runs batted in the game today for Votto, and the Reds stretch their lead 7-1 here in the fourth. Frazier waiting, and a swing and a foul tip. Frazier, a home run down the left field line his first time up, struck out, ending this 4-run second inning. He has Billy Hamilton leading down there at third with 2 away in this 2-run fourth. Reds have scored in 3 of their 4 trips to the plate. Good play there by the catcher Gomes, and that'll end the inning. Reds get 2 more. And after 3.5, they lead the Indians 7-1.
took the mound for the Reds today in an effort to try to make this ball club as one of the starters. He did a nice job. The first couple of batters he faced got base hits. The first eventually came around to score. That's Michael Bourne, but that is all that he gave up. He kept the ball down, used his breaking pitches very nicely. Although he did not strike out a batter this afternoon, Lorenzen put some good effort in. And the Reds get 3 innings out of him. That's pretty much what the pitching coach Jeff Pico told us before the ball game they wanted to see out of Lorenzen. Threw strikes, went out right after the hitters, and I'm sure that he is probably happy with what he got out of today. Now, the interesting thing about Michael Lorenzen, from what I can tell, Tom, is that he went down to the Reds bullpen. And he is down there throwing right now to get some extra pitches in, build up that arm strength, stretch him out even a little bit more.
So now we get a look at the left-hander. Been around a long time, Chris. I know you have always really liked Paul Maholm, and you have been very impressed, and why wouldn't you, with the way he's thrown the ball for the Reds so far this spring.
Well, those are his numbers from last year. Last year he was with the Dodgers. He's been with a lot of different clubs. The Reds primarily remember him as a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 7 years for the Pirates. 20 games under 500 with his career as a Pirate. Hoping to make this ball club as another one of those, that 5th starter. And the Reds have to decide, do they want a left-hander in that position? I mean, is there an advantage to having a southpaw in your rotation? Reds had David Holmberg in camp, left-hander who was up last year with the Reds for most of the month of September, all parts of a couple of other starts as well. He's been sent out. Maholm sticks.
Right into the teeth of the shift by Brandon Moss, and he's thrown out, one away in the inning.
You know, Maholm is one of those pitchers that you watch him warm up and pitch, and he's just not going to do much for you. He doesn't light up the radar gun, doesn't have a go-to pitch that he needs to get a strikeout on, but he's a guy that's always around the strike zone. I mean, anytime you get 10 years into the major leagues, you've done something.
Yep.
He's pitched for the Pirates, the Atlanta Braves for a couple of years, last year with the Dodgers, and also with the Chicago Cubs.
Breaking ball just off the outside corner to the right-handed batting catcher, Yan Gomes.
You know, it's kind of interesting, and baseball is maybe the only sport where you do this, where you have a guy who's been 10 years at the major league level, and now you're evaluating him over maybe the course of 13 innings. You know, as a starter in the major leagues, I mean, Maholm in the past has pitched, you know, usually anywhere from 180 to 100 and maybe 200 innings in a season. But now the snapshot that you're taking of him in the month of March is over. He's got 9 innings in so far. So he's going to have probably 15 innings by the time spring training is over. That's a tough thing to judge. Does the guy still have it? Is there anything left in the tank? You're pitching him down here in Arizona, where it's very difficult to get your breaking ball working, and that's one of his main pitches.
Well, I think we all agree with a week and a half to go before opening day and 1 week to go before the Reds break camp here in Arizona. They'll play a pair of exhibition games in Montreal against Toronto just before the start of the regular season. We know that when everybody's healthy, and they're hoping that means for Homer Bailey the middle of April. We know Johnny Cueto's, there's ball 4 to Gomes. We know Mike Leake and Homer Bailey will be the front 3 in the Red starting rotation. I think it's safe to say, Chris, we know Anthony DeSclafani is in the Red starting rotation.
Agreed.
So he would be number 4. Without Bailey, DeSclafani vaults to number 3. So you have 2 more spots at least 1 or 2 times through the rotation, depending on where Bailey is, where you would need then 2 other starters. And right now, it appears that Raisel Iglesias and Jason Marquis are the leaders for those final 2 spots, although the Reds will not come out and say that is a certainty. They have not ruled out, as you pointed out, Maholm, nor have they ruled out Lorenzen.
So then it really starts to get difficult as to how you start to decide what that should be who should be in that spot. What other factors factor in? Do you have to get a guy who's not on the 40-man roster and put him on the 40-man roster like they would in the case of Paul Maholm or Jason Marquis? Do you have to pay him a big league salary? If he only makes one start for you and Homer Bailey comes back and says, I'm completely healthy, and now you don't have room for that guy, you have to pay him $2 million. Is that the deal that you cut at the beginning of the year? So those are all the things I think that are being discussed and more in the Reds offices amongst Walt Jocketty and all of his advisors and Brian Price and the pitching coach Jeff Pico when they all get together to talk about how do we fill that last spot on the ball club, that fifth starter spot.
The other challenge the Reds will face, and of course this doesn't matter whether Michael Lorenzen and Raisel Iglesias pitch for the Major League club, or whether they start the year in the rotation for Delino DeShields in Louisville. And that is, where do you want to see both of those guys from an inning standpoint this year? We were talking with Jeff Pico again about this before the game today. You know, there is no scientific formula, and some might say, well, yeah, there is. Tom Verducci, of course, has done a lot of studying on this and written about it regularly for Sports Illustrated for a long, long time. But like Pico pointed out, he said, you know, we had a guy in Arizona, big prospect, Jared Parker. Said all we did was watch his innings and watch his pitches and on and on and on all the way through the minor leagues. He's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. He said they draft Steven Strasburg out of San Diego State. Well, they watch his innings, they watch his innings, they watch his innings, they shut him down. Boom. ACL or a Tommy John surgery for Strasburg. So he was just making the point that the eyes oftentimes can tell you the story. And Chris, you have done a lot of research into this, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this when we come back, because you know a lot about this. Fans, baseball back. Buy your tickets today to see the Redlegs take on the Pirates in the opening series presented by Cincinnati Bell. Now, Wednesday, April the 8th is opening night. Right, first night game of the year. That's when the Reds walk the red carpet in the fan zone. We have the first post-game fireworks show for that game, and it's always a big crowd. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com. Scott Atchison, third pitcher used by Terry Francona, takes over on the mound. The Reds with a 7-1 lead as they bat here in the 5th inning. Chris, I want to get back as you see the numbers on Atchison coming off a really good year, working out of the Indians bullpen. And get into that whole, thing again about our conversation for those of you just joining us we had before the game with Reds pitching coach Jeff Pico. Raisel Iglesias basically has not pitched competitive baseball outside of the instructional league, fall league, out here in Arizona this winter. But he has not pitched during the summer months competitively, regularly, for the better part of 2 years. So what would be a number where you start to say to yourself, any more than that, we get a little bit worried? Michael Lorenzen started 24 games in the minor leagues last year. Gave you up to around 130 innings. Where do you want him to be at the end of this year? Talked about some of the studies that have been done, a lot written about it, a lot talked about it. How do you see all of this?
Well, in the case of Iglesias, you're talking about a guy that has not pitched very much in the last 2 years, but growing up in Cuba, I can guarantee you that he probably pitched year-round ever since he could pick up a baseball. So I know that the Reds, that they've got a lot of money invested in him. He's on a major league contract, so they're torn between we need to use this guy at the highest level he can pitch at and as much as possible, but without hurting him. So I think that they're going to be conservative, and that if they could probably get 140 or so innings out of Iglesias, that's probably the area that they probably get. But I really like what Jeff Pico said about the eyeball test. Let's see how he reacts after he pitches a ball game. How does he feel a couple days later in the bullpen? Is his stuff as crisp and so on? The one thing that I think Iglesias has going for him that a lot of other pitchers do not is that he's not a victim of the newest rage in baseball, which is getting pitchers in the weight room and letting them lift and lift and lift, and all of a sudden they get so strong that their ligaments and their tendons can't take it, and that's when they blow out their UCLs. I think you began to see that in the beginning of the steroid era, when really what performance enhancing drugs do, and steroids, they don't make you a better baseball player. They make you able to go back into the weight room and recover faster and lift more and get stronger. And in the process, your arm loses its flexibility and its resiliency. And we haven't seen Iglesias today, though you've seen him pitch and I've seen him pitch. He's loosey-goosey on the mound. He reminds me of guys back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s before pitchers were allowed in the weight room. And I think that because of that, I think that they're going to get probably more out of Iglesias than a lot of people would anticipate going into the season. Other guys like Michael Lorenzen, big, strong guy. He's committed like everybody else to lifting weights. That's a program that the Reds have, every other team has. Listen, if you don't do it, you're going to be left behind. So you've got to do it. But I think that's one main cause why we've seen such an uptick in arm injuries among pitchers, is that they're just getting so doggone strong for their own good, and their arm can't take it.
You work with a lot of young pitchers. As Phillips just called out on strikes, he thought it was ball 4. I mean, you take the time to work with really young guys, high school guys, college. Your son's a college pitcher. You've been around a lot of those guys. Where is the line for you on, the amount of weightlifting? I know you're not a scientist, and I know you're not trying to tell everybody it's the same for everybody, but where do you kind of fall in line on all this weightlifting thing?
I wish I had the answer for that. I think the one thing that I keep going back to is that it's so common to see a pitcher go through Tommy John surgery and then come back throwing harder than he did before. And that rehab that they do post Tommy John, they've got it down to a real science now. And a lot of that is with tube work.
Yep.
The elastic tubes. And I'm a big believer in those. I'm a bigger believer in lower weights and more throwing and tube work than I am with, getting in there and in the weight room. Quite frankly, I don't know anything about weightlifting. I've not spent that much time studying that, but I know that flexibility is very important in pitching. And the more conversations I have with old timers, guys like Jim Maloney who come into camp here, or Jack Billingham from time to time, or Tom Browning, these are guys where you could throw 200 innings and still go down and play winter ball.
That'll be a double play to end the inning. Good work by Atchison. And very interesting thoughts from Chris Welsh.
steps in for the Indians. He's a 22-year-old shortstop who's not far removed from being a rookie, but the veterans wanted to send this guy a message. Story goes that, well, he likes to park his car wherever he chooses at the facility. So the veteran said, all right, if you can do that, you're not far enough removed from being a rookie that we can't have some fun with you. And we talked on the last broadcast how loose of a camp that Terry Francona works over there with the Indians about throwing water balloons at management. But Jose Ramirez, as he puts the ball in the air, when he got to the complex this morning, look where his car was. Parked at shortstop. They say Mike Aviles and the veterans were behind this, saying, you're only 22. If you're going to park your car wherever you want, we will park it wherever we want as well. They had some fun for sure.
Well, there's no doubt about it. It really is a fun group to be around, and it starts with the manager.
It does, you know, and we've had some people who are independent observers go into both camps, and I haven't really spent very much time over in the Indians camp watching batting practice and infield and so on. We do that. We'll watch our own team over here, right? But they say that there is a dramatic difference just in the approach between the Indians and the Reds. And not saying the one is right and the other is wrong, but I've heard it from more than one person saying that it is so loose over there. You know, you got dogs running on the field, you got girlfriends hanging around and so on, and the Reds are a little bit more tight-lipped, you know, a little bit more business-like. And not saying that there's one way or another that's the best way to do it, but it's interesting how different approaches are taken.
Chris, if you would retell that story, because I know there were some of you perhaps that were with us the last spring training game when we had the Reds and the Indians, but I'm sure many of you were not. What Jim alluded to a little while ago about throwing water balloons.
That was a great story that on the way back from the complex where these teams work out, the Indians is about a half a mile away, the Reds is about a mile away, so Terry Francona and his bench coach Brad Mills take a cart, like a golf cart, back, but they've got a cooler loaded up with water balloons, and all the front office operatives, the scouts and the general manager, the head of the player personnel and so on, are walking along the sidewalk.
And I'm going to interrupt you again for those of you to make sure you heard what he said. Now, Terry Francona has a boss. His boss is the general manager of the team.
Correct.
And he's part of the group that is walking back to the complex.
Correct.
So please carry on.
So Francona and Brad Mills, when they would see a target on the way back, would start pelting them with water balloons. So they had enough of this, and they finally said, all right, well, we're going to get even with Francona and Mills. And sure enough, they did. You know, well, there was one day after a game, Mills and Francona going back in the cart looking for their normal targets, and they don't see anybody. The sidewalks are empty. So they get back to the complex and they're walking in, and they see one of the guys that they've hit numerous times just walking over by the door. So they said they got ready, they got their water balloons, and just then everybody else popped up behind cars, behind palm trees. Ambushed, even from the roof of the complex. There was the general manager himself pelting a ball with water balloons. Needless to say, they got their revenge.
Yes. That's great
That's
stuff.
just kind of the way that they operate the camp. Not that the Reds don't have fun. The Reds have fun too. But I'm not sure anybody has as much fun as Terry Francona.
It's still hard for me to believe. I don't know if it is for you. That Terry Francona was ever let go in Boston. I mean, you go to that town and you win a pair of World Series. Of course, it got ugly at the end now.
Yeah, didn't they have beer and chicken gate?
Yeah, they had all kinds of things going on. And Josh Beckett, Lester, and then there were a whole fleet of them, Lackey. I mean, there were a whole bunch of them that were rumored to be, to a lesser extent, greater extent involved in all that.
Well, he didn't have a problem getting a job. Francona, that is.
1 year out of the managerial seat, spent a year, of course, in the television booth. And then 1 year later came back, led the Indians to the playoffs in 2013. Followed up with back-to-back winning seasons a year ago, but came up short in qualifying as a wild card. Two down for Kipnis, 2-2 from Mahalam. And that's just a little bit low, full count to the Indians' second baseman. Seven runs, 8 hits for the Reds, 1 run, 4 hits for the Indians. We are in the bottom of the 5th inning in Goodyear, Arizona. Grounded hard. Votto bobbles, throws, still got it. So Mahalan, a couple of shutout innings, has allowed only 1 base runner. We move on to the 6th. All Reds so far. Now at the Holy Grail on the banks for the first Reds fan cam of the year. Our buddy from WLW, Mo Egger, along with Fox Sports Ohio girl Christine, will be there to ask Reds trivia and hand out great prizes. A Reds fan cam. 1 o'clock on Monday, April the 6th, opening day. There are a lot of us in the sports media around Cincinnati that get so excited for opening day. Still the little kid in all of us. Mo Egger and Christine would both fit that bill in our market, maybe near the top of the list, as Dominguez will reach base safely. Both of them grew up in the area. So Mo and Christine, perfect duo to be hosting our inaugural Reds fan camp on opening day. Dominguez aboard for the 2nd time, his 2nd hit in 3 trips to the plate. And now Negron twice has been hit by a pitch, twice has scored a run. Atchison worked a scoreless 5th inning, allowed a 1-out single to Devin Mesoraco, but got a double play ball to end the inning.
You know, I'd like to hear your take on this. We talked about Terry Francona last inning. Is he a Hall of Fame manager, or is he on a track to becoming a Hall of Fame manager?
It's a good question.
1,200 wins. Just a little over 1,000 losses. Of course, he won the World Series twice with the Boston Red Sox. Been the postseason once here with the Indians. Been manager of the year in 2013.
How many other times did he go to the playoffs during his tenure with Boston? Obviously more than just the 2 trips where they won the World Series.
I think 5 times total in 8 years.
Well, from a historical perspective, as long as Boston went without winning a World Series, to win not only once but to win twice in Boston, you're going to garner a lot of votes just on that alone. Huge media market, incredible following from both fans and the media all over the country as Negron has gone on strikes. But it is interesting, isn't it? And you and I have discussed this. Really a similar manager in many ways, although Francona's wins and losses a better winning percentage than Bruce Bochy. Bochy was probably a very good manager in San Diego with a lot of bad teams. He goes to San Francisco where they spend a lot of money and they have a lot of good players, and now he's won 3 World Series. Did he all of a sudden get a lot smarter when he left San Diego?
Got a lot better.
Same thing happened to Francona.
Can't argue with those rings.
The Skyline.
Reds batting here in the top half of the 6th inning with a 7-1 lead over the Cleveland Indians. Beautiful day here in Goodyear, Arizona, and Brian Shaw takes over on the mound.
80 games last year for Brian Shaw. He was formerly a 2nd-round draft pick for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ended up going from Arizona to Cleveland in that same deal that sent Didi Gregorius to Arizona, Drew Stubbs to Cleveland, and brought Shin-Soo Choo to Cincinnati a couple of years ago. Workhorse last year, Brian Shaw.
The Diamondbacks have traded away some guys who have turned into pretty good pitchers in some other places. Of course, a lot of organizations have. They're not the only one. They used to have a guy named Max Scherzer at one time.
Yeah. Ever heard of him? When will they see that heralded pitching staff of the Washington Nationals anyway? Not until July, it looks like the Reds will go to Washington for a 3-game series.
Well, we go there, if I'm not mistaken, that final road trip before the All-Star break.
They go to Miami right after that. Well, you do know your schedule.
That's the goal.
They will host the Washington Nationals at the end of May. Quick 2 games. Right, the last 3 games of the month of May, 29th, 30th, 31st.
De Jesus loops one into left center field. That'll be a base hit, his first in 3 at-bats today. On to second goes Dominguez, and the Reds with 2 on, 1 out, leading 7-1. Back to the top of the order, Billy Hamilton coming up.
You mentioned earlier about Ivan De Jesus Jr., how good of a spring he's had, and Tom, 27 years old, another guy who comes into camp as a non-roster player. Do the Reds have some problems if they have too many non-roster players on this 25-man roster? You got to take somebody off the 40 to make room before you put them on the 25-man roster.
Well, you know, with all due respect to every player, because they have worked so hard to earn the right to be placed on a major league team's 40-man roster, but every team's 40-man roster has a number of guys that you could all of a sudden take off the roster and you really wouldn't miss them.
I think the other part of it is that depending on when you take them off, I mean, there are teams that are in the same situation as the Reds.
Sure.
So they're looking to create roster spots rather than take up roster spots here at this time of the year, so you can slip some guys through waivers that you wouldn't normally be able to do it in other times of the year. At the same time, the Reds might be doing some quote-unquote bottom fishing, looking around the waiver wire to say, all right, you know, is there somebody out there that fits our puzzle better than what we have?
Luis Gonzalez takes over at first base as a pinch runner. Hamilton today, 2 out of 3 RBI double scored in the second inning, singled in the fourth. Now the Reds made a trade earlier today. They acquired from Houston first baseman Dan Johnson for a player to be named Orcash. Traded to the Phillies infielder Devin Loman in exchange for a player to be named Orcash. Marquez Smith, the batter, with 2 down and 2 on. If you're wondering about Dan Johnson, he's a guy that has bounced around. At one time was a very highly touted prospect in the Oakland Athletics organization going all the way back to 2003. He's played in the big leagues for the A's, the Rays, went to Japan, and over the last 3 seasons has bounced around with Tampa Bay, the White Sox, Baltimore, last year with Toronto.
Sounds a little bit like the guy at the plate right here, Marquez Smith. You know, you talk about keeping the dream alive. He's doing it. 30 years old, has never been in the major leagues. 36th round draft pick of the Twins. He was a 46th round draft pick of the Angels. Came out of Clemson. 8th round pick by the Cubs. And he's been in the minor leagues since the age of 22 years old. He is now 30. And here he is playing in a big league exhibition game. Keeping that dream of playing Major League Baseball alive.
And he draws a walk to load the bases. Well, even with only a little more than a week to go out here in Arizona anyway, the Reds are beginning to empty their bench. Starters each getting 3 trips to the plate. Irving Falou, the batter. Now, some of you may remember I brought up the trade the Reds made today for Dan Johnson. He was a guy best known for hitting a dramatic 2-out, 2-strike home run for the Tampa Bay Rays in the bottom of the 9th inning in the last game of that 2011 season.
That was the season, the last game of the, or last day of the season. That was so exciting.
Yes.
There were about 4 different games going on at the same time. You're going back and forth on your television to get them all in. I remember that one very clearly.
And he would go on to tie a game late on that wild card Wednesday, where the Rays would eventually win the wild card game and would be off to the playoffs. this summer in Cincinnati by visiting the T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest, the world's largest interactive baseball theme park. That'll be at the Duke Energy Convention Center July 10th through July 14th. Purchase your tickets right now. Buy them right now at allstargame.com. David Murphy to face left-hander Paul Mahalam, who begins his third inning of work. 2 innings, no hits, 1 base running.
Certainly gives you a different look than does Michael Lorenzen, the starter. Lorenzen went 3 innings and was throwing the ball very hard. Mahalam does it with mostly off-speed stuff. Tried to sneak a fastball by him right there.
3 changes for the Reds. Smith stays into play first. Gonzalez remains into play second. And Falou remains in the game for Todd Frazier at third. Jesus Aguilar is now the pinch runner for Murphy at first base. Of course, a little bit later on this afternoon, approaching nighttime back in the heartland, Eastern Standard Time, the NCAA tournament will resume, the men's tournament. Chris, you have had just a stunning bracket. This should be an easy double play. And it is. 2 gone in the inning. Your picks have just been simply extraordinary. And if there is anybody out there, and I say this with the utmost seriousness, that wants to know about winners tonight, Chris, I'm going to throw you on the spot because you have been lights out.
I can tell you, Tom, of all the years that I've donated to the pools and never got anything back because I was one of the world's worst, this year is the only year I've not gotten in the pool, especially like the players' pool here. And I've got a good bracket. Well, I don't know. It certainly isn't from being an expert.
You have been incredible.
I did it more emotional this year. And I can't tell you what's going to happen tonight, but I can tell you that in my pool, I have the Kentucky Wildcats against their cross-state rival, the Louisville Cardinals.
My man. No. Tonight they're playing West Virginia.
Oh, I know they're playing West Virginia. I'm talking at the very end, yeah.
Oh, so you're saying Louisville and Kentucky will both win tonight?
Yeah. No, well, they'll win tonight if they're going to go along with my pool.
All right, but let's find out, though, where you are in your pool for tonight's games. Because if I'm not mistaken, you have every winner of the games tonight so far. So that one ripped into right field. That'll be a base hit by Brandon Moss. All right, Wichita v. Notre Dame. Wichita State v. Notre Dame. Who you liking that one?
I like the way the Notre Dame Irish played their last time out, but I think they've made their run. They go down tonight.
How about North Carolina and the Badgers of Wisconsin?
The Badgers are favored, but I like the way, the cool, calm way that North Carolina plays in the postseason, and I happen to like that upset tonight.
Wow. All right, how about West Virginia, Kentucky? You've already said you like Kentucky to advance.
You know, I love Huggy as much as anybody, or almost as much as anybody. And end of the line, unfortunately, for him in that yellow suit he wears.
I mean, it really is incredible. You look in Reds country, right? West Virginia, Kentucky. We have radio, television affiliates in both of those towns.
Oh, yeah.
Those states, blanket all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight, right, Cincinnati's very own, the Xavier Musketeers, taking on the heavily favored Arizona Wildcats. Of course, Sean Miller, the coach of the Wildcats, left Xavier to come to Tucson, Arizona. Do the Musketeers have any shot?
Well, the Musketeers have already taken care of one of their former coaches when they beat Ole Miss. I think they do the same tonight.
Wow.
Again, I'm picking with emotion.
But you've been on a run.
So, you know, my run may end tonight. I don't know. But it's been a fun run. Waited long enough for it, that's for sure. How about you?
I like the Fighting Irish to win tonight. Do you? Yeah, I do. I do.
Do you agree with me on the other upsets like North Carolina and the Musketeers?
You know what? I mean, obviously, I'll be rooting for Xavier. I don't think they win that game. I really don't. Are they capable of winning? Yes, they are. But Arizona is a legitimate powerhouse. And Xavier's sort of been, but I'll tell you one thing about X, when they get in the tournament every year, I think they match this year, if I'm not mistaken, only Michigan State, Louisville, and one other team to be in the Sweet 16 5 times in the last 6 years. Pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
Very. 1 ball and 2 strikes. I think the Badgers end up winning that game tonight. Tight, late, tournament tested, tough, good team. And last but not least, I think Huggy Bear pulls off the shot.
Do you?
I do. My bracket's in the toilet.
Boy. According to Paul Mahalam, so was that call by home plate umpire Marcus Patillo. He thought that curveball was in there.
Look good. Well, he follows it up with an even better. And that'll take care of business. 3 base runners, 2 left. We go to the 7th. 7-1 Cincinnati.
Three-hour mark in terms of average game time got people focused on this issue. There's something different about 2:59 and 3:02 that's more than 3 minutes, just symbolically. So length of the game is one issue. I'm not as concerned about that as I am about the flow of the game. Taking out unnecessary breaks in the action is really what our focus is going forward.
Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred, talking about one of his real priorities, along with many others, originally under Bud Selig, to begin to study the pace of play and some ideas that baseball might have to try and speed things up a little bit. Of course, in the minor leagues, I mean, they're not waiting around. I mean, they're going all out, all in, if you will.
Well, that's a testing ground for a lot of things. And before they're oftentimes approved at the major league level, and you run them by the Players Association up here, you've got to figure out if they work on the field down there.
In-stadium clocks are visible to the playing field. We have one here. We'll try and give you a look at it. 40 seconds remain. The batter is announced. Between 20 to 5 seconds remaining, the batter's actually in the batter's box. And, of course, then there are things they want to see happen where if a batter, unless he swings or fouls a ball off, he has to have 1 foot in the batter's box at all times. Or if, he was dusted by a pitch, something along those lines. There are exceptions.
Well, for the most part, that first part there where it said that the batter has to be in the batter's box at the right time, That is what I would call the walk-up music rule. Because we have seen over the last few years that get longer and longer, that amount of time when the batter wants to wait for the certain verse in that song that he so carefully selected before he finally gets into the batter's box. No longer. You're up there whether you hear that verse or not.
Now, players will not suffer any penalty on the field, although they will be notified of violations through a warning and a fine system that will be put in play. There are a few other things that have a chance, Chris, to speed the game up. Managers may now invoke a replay challenge from the dugout using a hand signal or verbal communication without coming out of the dugout and standing around and waiting for, their video guy to look at it and say, yeah, let's challenge this call.
That was such a waste. That's a good move immediately by MLB.
Some other significant, I guess, differences from the past is Phillips and Lines wanted to center field a hit. We were talking a lot last year and the year before about plays that are reviewable and plays that are not. This year, tag-up plays are reviewable, including whether the runner left a base early or properly retouched a base, as we see in some cases. A manager this year will retain his challenge after every call that is overturned. Every one of them. You may remember last year a manager retained his challenge only after the first overturned call.
Part of the delay in that review system was the manager was waiting to even decide whether he should, challenge it or not. So he'd send the catcher out to the pitcher, and they'd chat it up a little bit out there. They'd wait for the umpire to walk out and finally break up the rock pile, and then they'd get going again. And then the manager would slowly come out of the dugout. That was all just wasted time. And, all these changes are the most obvious of all changes, and I hope they have an impact. I like the idea of keeping guys in the batter's box because we've seen a lot of cooperation by the players already. I haven't really seen too much where an umpire's had to warn a guy. Now, in this case right here, Mesoraco swings at the pitch, fouls it off, so he's allowed to leave the batter's box. If you swing and miss or swing and foul it off, or if you attempt to bunt, you can get out of the batter's box. If you don't, then you keep 1 foot in, and I think it's worked so far.
One and two on Devin Mesoraco. He's been behind the plate the entire way so far. He has a home run, just missed hitting another in the third, and had a single into left field in the fifth. Should be two. And it is on the relay from Michael Martinez.
Don't you love, though, the way that Mesoraco gets down the line? I mean, here it is, spring training. He's in the 7th inning of a spring training game, and he's booking it down the line like he's in a playoff race. I mean, just the way he plays the game. I mean, some guys are, they're saving their sprints for later on. Not Mesoraco.
Of course, Devin twice last year was on the disabled list. Both trips very early in the season as the Indians are going to make a pitching change. I mean, he's on record as saying, hey, look, played a career-high 114 games last year, led all major league catchers in home runs. He says, I want to be out there every day.
The city's sick.
On Reds lead 7-1, batting here in the top of the 7th inning. Brennan Bosch facing the new pitcher Jeff Manship. Looked into right field, another base hit for Bosch, his second today. So once again, here you have Brennan Bosch trying to earn a spot with a big league club. 2 hits, has scored a run. The man who makes his way to the plate now, Dominguez. 3 at-bats, 2 hits, scored a run.
You know, kind of interesting because the knock on Bosch, at least according to the scouts and people that I had spoken with early in camp, was that he doesn't hit the breaking ball. But both hits today, he has gotten off an off-speed pitch.
Foul ball. Bosch had spent a handful of seasons in the major leagues almost exclusively with the Detroit Tigers, and then after a terrible injury had to start to earn his way back. Those numbers you saw, we'll put him up there again. Well, the kind of year he had in AAA a season ago.
He was the first free agent that the Reds signed here in the offseason. I think they signed him back in December. At that time, Walt Jockey said, you know, we wanted to get him before any other teams did. He agreed to a minor league deal, non-roster invite. You know, the question is, how do you translate numbers from the PCL to the big leagues? Power-wise, ball flies out there. It's well known, as always has been, as a great hitters league. You know, same thing for Chris Dominguez. Played in Fresno last couple of years with the Giants organization. You know, how do you know, if you hit 320 in PCL, what does that mean in the National League?
Not every team in the PCL is playing, say, at mile-high altitude, although they do have one team, Colorado Springs, that is playing at very high altitude. But overall in the PCL, be curious, because you pitched in the PCL, right?
No, I never did.
Oh, I thought you did. No. I'm sorry. All right. Well, then forget what I was going to ask you.
Well, you might as well, because we're going to break anyway.
But then I'll ask you off the air. Much more colorful answers that way. By the time that baby winds down to about 20, the batter is expected to be in that batter's box vicinity, ball thrown around the infield, and the pitcher ready to go. So here we are at 35. The pitcher has just received the ball. And at 30, The batter, anyway, is inside the dirt area. I mean, we're going to be right on the button. There will be one of these in every major league ballpark this year. And with 8 seconds left on that clock, the new Reds pitcher J.J. Hoover into the windup, fouled away, strike one. Hoover is one of the real question marks in this Reds bullpen. 2 years ago had as dominant a year. Had the long scoreless inning streak. He was dynamite. Last year, the pendulum swung the other way. Had the most losses of any reliever in Major League Baseball. Was eventually sent back to the minor leagues. Started off poorly this spring. Chrissy's been better of late. But is it too late for Hoover to be a part of the bullpen, at least on opening day?
I can't answer that question. I think from JJ's standpoint, he came into camp with an idea of what he had to do mechanically to get back to where he was the year before last. And he noticed some things in his delivery, and it's the same thing that a lot of pitchers do. You fly open early, and you start trying harder, and the harder you try, the more you fly open. The more you fly open, the worse you pitch, and it's just one thing after another. But I mean, Hoover has the type of delivery that he's got an explosive fastball, really good curveball. He's got two different types of breaking pitches, a curveball and a slider. Curveball is more of a setup breaking ball, and then the sliders a put him away pitch. But they thought, as you did, Tom mentioned a couple of years ago when he had that terrific year with the Reds in 69 games, this guy was going to be a big part of the bullpen for a long, long time. It just goes to show you it's not all that easy to sustain year after year without being on top of your game. Two and one on Jose Ramirez. He started the game at shortstop. And is 0 for 2. The Reds have only allowed 6 base hits and 1 run. Beautiful breaking ball there by Hoover. It's an easy guy to root for, J.J. Hoover. Very laid back, quiet. But once you sort of get him to open up a little bit, he's an extremely likable young man. Love to see him get it all together. Well, makes his year-round home in Cincinnati. Of course, his wife, a big part of the staff over at the Cincinnati Zoo. Mm-hmm. Lazy fly ball, left center field, and that's 2 up, 2 down for Hoover here in the 7th. I know one guy that has caught your eye so far this spring, Chris, is Kevin Gray. He has. And with anybody who's in his mid-30s, the way Kevin Gray has been around seemingly forever. 177 saves in the major leagues. We saw him last year with the Cubs. And he's just amazed me because it looks to me like he still has something in the tank. Now, I'm not the guy that really likes to evaluate people according to radar gun, but he is throwing in the low 90s. 92, 93 sometimes. And he keeps himself in great shape. And I think that he is a cinch to make this ball club as a non-roster pitcher to be one of the main setup men, maybe right along with Tony Cingrani. That gives Brian Price an option, in the 8th inning or in the 7th inning, whether to go to the lefty or righty, depending on what his opposition looks like. How good has Cingrani looked since you and I were here on St. Patrick's Day when the Reds made the decision? That was a game you may recall that Cingrani was to have started. And 2 days prior, Brian Price said, nope, you are now headed for the bullpen. Yeah, I get the feeling that when they first told him that, he was not happy at all. He wants to be a starter. I think he liked the way he had the tremendous success as a starter when he first came in the major leagues. But he's going back to where it was once comfortable for him. Back when he went back in college, SMU, I think he went to school, and he was used as a reliever. And that's where the Reds found him and drafted him out of there.
Was it SMU or was it Rice?
Or was it Rice?
I can't remember. I may be getting myself
It was Rice. No, you're right. I knew it was a Texas school. Chicago kid from South Side heading down to Texas.
There really aren't that many colleges in Texas.
You know, one of the best interviews that Jim Day has ever done was with Tony Cingrani's father.
Yes.
In Wrigley Field.
Classic.
And he was a dyed-in-the-wool, and still is, Sox fan.
South Side guy. That's what he said. If my son weren't pitching here, I'd never walk in this place.
I loved it.
I want to expand on what you're talking about their different ways to get different pitchers ready for the season. Those of you following spring training closely, the next time through the rotation for Mike Leake, you will not see him in a major league game. He will make his next start in a minor league game, and there's one big reason for it. Brian Price, the former pitching coach, believes that start number 5 in the spring is the most important. He will start in a minor league game because they can control the entire situation. He thinks in a 5th start, it's much more important for a guy to get up and sit down 6 or 7 times during the game to simulate pitching 6 or 7 innings. In a minor league game, they can control that action. In a major league game, if a guy makes an error or he has a bad inning and suddenly he's throwing 30 pitches in an inning, he might not get 6 or 7 chances to get up and down. So a different way to get a guy ready. He thinks it's more important for him to get up, get down 6, 7 times.
Very interesting. And of course, Chris, there aren't many guys walking the planet that know any more about pitching than the Reds manager, their former pitching coach.
You're right, and I think what impresses me most about Brian Price in that aspect, Tom, is that he's always willing to learn more. I mean, they're always seeking out something more about it. He's not one of these guys that sits back and tells you that he knows everything there is about it. And he's a great communicator, and I think that's a good plan. I mean, I would never have thought of that, but, you know, I'll tell you one thing he does. He comes to the ballpark with a plan. He and Jay Bell, his bench coach, they've got it worked out. And they're hoping that everybody stays healthy enough this year so that it does all work out.
Negron has gone the distance so far today. There's a roller down to third, and it's out number 1 here in the Reds' 8th. Reds lead at 7-1. All the scoring by both teams done in the first 3.5 innings of this one. Luis Gonzalez came on as a pinch running. After Ivan De Jesus singled back in the 6th inning. Billy Hamilton will get one more plate appearance today. Hamilton, Mesoraco, Bosch, Dominguez, Negron have played the entire game. That one driven far and deep into left center field, and that's up against the wall. Gonzalez will pull in with a 1-out double.
Well, that's got to make him feel good. Luis Gonzalez, just a young guy. They probably expect him to play in Billings this year. Gets a high breaking pitch, and that ball just kept going and going. He played 2013 in the Dominican Summer League, over there where the Reds have a full-scale facility. Last year he played in the Arizona League and batted .277 last year. In fact, he was the Reds organization MVP of the Instructional League last year after the 2014 season.
They're only 20 years old.
Pretty good looking swing.
Oops. Well, he's caught between second and third and will be tagged out in the rundown. 2 away in the inning. That's why you practice the rundown plays, as the Reds were doing earlier today. That was played perfectly. Pitcher to the third baseman. That was the only throw.
The quicker you do it, especially when your trail runner is Billy Hamilton, because if you can extend that rundown even one more extra throw, you got a chance to get him into second base on, scoring position. Textbook right here. You know what, Tom, you bring it up, and I'm glad you did. We taped some very interesting Tech Talks, baseball Tech Talks, brought to you by Cincinnati Bell this year again, and about the rundown. And Billy Dorn, who runs the minor league camp, the whole spring training for the Reds. He's the field coordinator for the Reds. Former Reds player, great Cincinnati player, of course, Billy Dorn was. But he was kind enough to have me go out there a couple of days and work with and have some of the minor league players come out and work with us on the Tech Talks and show us how these things worked out, how the bunt plays worked, how the rundowns did. Had Jose Nieves out there. The Dayton manager had Pat Kelly, who's the Double-A Pensacola Blue Wahoo manager, out there to help out, and they did a great job explaining it all, and you'll see those Tech Talks as we go through the summer.
I got to tell you, of all the guys that I had a chance to be around growing up as a kid, and then growing up and watching play Major League Baseball, you talk about one outstanding player. And I still believe if he wants to do it, now whether or not he wants to do it could be an entirely different story. Billy Dorn. That guy was some kind of player. There are a lot of younger fans that may not remember Billy. That one ripped down the left field line by Marquez Smith. So he has a walk and now an RBI double as Hamilton will easily score from first base. Well done, Marquez Smith.
Yes.
That'll make it 8-1 Reds.
Rips it hard right down the line. Do you think that Billy Hamilton could run backwards faster than you could run forwards?
There's no doubt in my mind.
I know that Bubba Watson had, when he came in, press conference here, he bought into the part of the Pensacola Double-A team, Blue Wahoos. He challenged Billy Hamilton, and it was all in jest, of course, but I know you're a big runner.
No.
And you're out there every morning, crack of dawn.
But not speed runner. I mean, I'm one of the slowest people maybe on the planet. So,
I'm talking about your running.
Well, running can be defined in many ways. That went into center field. That'll be a base hit, and that'll bring in another run. Falou played Smith to make it 9-1 Reds.
All right, Marquez Smith got a high five from Brandon Phillips before he headed into the dugout. You know, you were talking about Billy Dorn. Billy Dorn runs the minor league camp.
Field coordinator.
And a lot of the players that are selected to be backups in these big league exhibition games are selected by him. And it's a reward process. You know, you work hard down there, and we'll get you into a big league exhibition game. And this one happens to be on television, both with us and with Fox Sports Channel or Fox Sports Ohio going back to Cleveland. They get their day in the sun. I think it's a great way to reward those kids for hard work.
Dorn went to Mount Healthy High School, then played collegiately at Miami of Ohio. Was drafted by the Houston Astros, where he was their main man. Second baseman for a decade. Came to the Reds in 1990, his hometown team, and by the end of the season had taken over as the primary second baseman on that club that won the World Series. His final year was spent in Milwaukee, but he has done everything there is to do as far as a person in uniform can do. Player, there's a bouncer left side, and under the glove of the shortstop in the left field. Been a minor league instructor, minor league field coordinator, director of player development, special assistant to a general manager. He was Buddy Bell's longtime, another native Cincinnatian, very close friend. Was his bench coach when Buddy was the manager in Kansas City. Man, could he play. Gamer. Mesoraco with 2 out, 2 on, 2 in. Reds leading 9-1. We're in the 8th inning in Goodyear, Arizona. Right center field, and a nice play made out there to end the inning. Reds get 2 more. Indians bat last of the 8th inning. 9-1, Reds in front.
Plan presented by McDonald's. Guarantee your Nasty Boys triple bobblehead and get 6 free McDonald's extra value meals. Plus, pick 5 additional games of your choice, including Super Saturdays featuring 9 bobblehead days. This is your final chance to save up to 28% by purchasing the Nasty Boys Pick 6 plan. Call 513-765-7500 or visit reds.com/pick6. And guys, it was very interesting. Randy Myers was in camp I don't know, a week or so ago. And for a guy that tried to avoid the media, not talking much during his playing days, I want to tell you what. He talked my ear off. It was one of the most interesting conversations I've had in a long, long time. We talked for well over an hour about old stories, and I was laughing so hard my stomach hurt. This is going to be a big year because Nasty Boys are going to be in Cincinnati more than one time, including being the Grand Marshals of the Finley Opening Day Parade.
Well, you know, that was the one thing, and Jim, I know you weren't around yet, but Chris, you and I were around. Randy Myers was one of the most engaging guys to talk to as there was during his entire career. He just wasn't real big on, you know, being the guy after a game that had to talk to the press every single day, or, you know, he might have declined an interview here or there, but just to sit around and shoot the breeze has always been one of the best. Nate Adcock takes over on the mound, right-handed. Jesus Aguilar bats for the first time since coming on as a pinch runner. Adcock, 27 years old, grew up in the Bluegrass State, born and raised. Elizabethtown, Kentucky born. Radcliffe, Kentucky, his home since high school.
You know, he's a big guy, Adcock is. 6'4", 225. But he's been around a little bit. Originally drafted and signed by the Mariners, played in 2006 in the Arizona League down here in the summertime. He's also been with a number of other ball clubs, including the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Royals, the Pirates. Then he signed in the offseason as a non-roster player here. And you're watching him deep into camp because he's done a whole lot of that. I mean, his fastball moves all over the place. He's got a nasty slider. You just wonder if, you know, finally he's one of these kids that just all of a sudden he got it. And he realizes what it takes to repeat his delivery, because he certainly has the talent.
Jerry Sands swings and fouls it out of play, down a strike. 9 runs, 15 hits for the Redlegs, and really the story of this entire camp for the Reds, and read into it what you will, if anything at all. Their pitching continues to be just incredible during the spring. Of course, you know, runs are even down in spring training, both Florida and here in Arizona, as they have been during major league seasons each of the last 5 years. Very much in decline. The Reds starters this entire spring, where a lot of people feel the ball at 1,200 feet roughly, somewhere around there above sea level, the elevation here carries better than it does in Florida. Their starters the entire spring have allowed a total of 2 home runs. And that's with a lot of question marks in the starting rotation.
What happened to those spring days where it would be windy? You know, we'd see 25-mile-an-hour winds blowing out all day long. We haven't had too many of those, thankfully.
They're all happening in the Midwest.
Okay. Today, blowing straight down.
Great job, guys. Great job.
A beautiful day.
Going to get a little warm here this weekend. Temperatures up until now have really hovered in the high 70s, low 80s. They're going to crack the 90-degree mark and do it in a big way, I guess, this weekend. Just in time for the rest of the Brenneman family to come down.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Everybody's settled in, officially arriving today. So very excited. Early happy birthday. Our son Luke turns 10 years young tomorrow. Wow. Very, very excited about that. So, Lukey, happy birthday, big boy. We love you very, very much.
Did I hear that he donned a Xavier Musketeer shirt?
It's amazing.
Before he got on the airplane?
I mean, one of the all-time great front runners. He's learned from his grandpa.
He's the best.
That thing has never seen the light of day, that T-shirt, until he got on the plane to fly out here knowing they're in the Sweet 16 tonight.
I love it.
Front runner. Home run by Frazier. They would break a 1-1 tie on a home run by Devin Mesoraco way back in the second inning. Reds scored 4 times in that second inning. Billy Hamilton with a double into right field. Plating Christopher Negron, and behind him a 2-strike, 2-out pitch to Votto. Dropped a single to center field, plating a pair. Reds added a couple of runs in the 4th inning. 2 more in the 8th, and they will bat here in the 9th with a 9-1 lead. Reds trying to go to 11-9-3 in Cactus League play. Chris, you have your part of your plan coming out here as well to enjoy the remaining days of sunshine in this spring training 2015.
I do indeed. My oldest, Carrie, and my youngest, Grace, they're both in school. They both have spring breaks that happen at the same time, so they'll be coming down this weekend. We'll have this weekend and next week to enjoy the last few days of spring training.
Now, has Carrie become a big Wisconsin Badgers fan?
Nah, I don't think so. But she is going to grad school up there in Madison. So, I mean, she
was undergrad at UK.
Correct.
So is she more of a UK follower?
Yes.
Than a Badger follower?
No doubt about it.
Okay. See, now she would not be front running. I mean, she's pretty lucky when you stop and think about it.
I tell her that all the time.
Schools are right there in the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty nice. Pretty nice. Brennan Bosch, 2 hits, 4 at-bats, has scored a run. Likewise for another Red trying to make this team, hitting behind him in the lineup today, Dominguez. 2 hits, a run scored. A lot of the fans that were here when we got started a little after 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time in the afternoon have hit the bricks. In the air, left side of the infield, and that's out number 1.
Left-hander Chris Dominguez.
Jim Day hanging out down in the dugout. What's going on down there, Jimbo?
Well, it's comedy hour down here. When Brandon Phillips is DHing and not playing the field, he has a little extra time on his hands. So there's some cutting up going down here. Now, you were talking about Reds minor leaguers filling in the gaps here and there. There's a player in the dugout, number 81, Jose Siri. His last name is indeed Siri. And Brandon keeps walking up to him, a la Siri of Apple iPhone, pressing the button and asking Siri questions. Clowning around, having fun with Billy Hamilton. So at spring training, indeed, this team does have lots of fun.
Now, Jim, are you allowed to interview Brandon Phillips today, or because he's in the game, he's off limits?
I am not allowed to interview him once he is in the game, but again, he's DHing, so he's got some extra time on his hands. He is now standing next to Jose Siri here in the dugout. So, and there you get a look at the, I don't know if you can see this, and there you go. Siri.
That's the way you spell it, too.
That's the way you spell it, and he keeps pushing the button in front of him and asking Siri questions. He's getting directions, all kinds of stuff.
It's good stuff. 2 on 1 out for Gonzalez as Dominguez.
Boy, if he could just make it to the major leagues, that would be some serious endorsement potential.
Serious endorsement.
Correct.
Yes. Negron, another base hit. That's a beautiful piece of hitting by the youngster you brought up earlier who doubled his last time up, the 20-year-old Luis Gonzalez. No relation, by the way, if some of you were curious. We mentioned he's from Venezuela. Out in these parts, they remember Luis Gonzalez. Former Arizona Diamondback, of course, who beat Mariano Rivera and the New York Yankees in the bottom of the 9th inning, 2001 World Series Game 7. And we remember who scored the winning run, don't we? On that base hit by Luis Gonzalez, none other than Reds bench coach Jay Bell. Jay was so classy after they won that. As you know, Chris, I really don't collect any artifacts at all. I mean, no autographed baseballs, nothing like that. For some people, it might be great, just never been my thing. When he scored that run about 3 weeks later, he gave me a picture of him standing, scoring. There's a liner into right going to be caught. Hamilton hitting that ball hard. That'll plate another run, making it 10-1. Hamilton's had a nice day today. Couple of hits, couple of runs scored. Now an RBI. But Jay Bell gave me a framed picture of him touching home plate. Autograph. Tom, I hope he gets to call many more moments like this. And it's one of the few things I've always hung on to.
Very nice.
Yeah, classy move.
Really class guy.
Good player, too, for a long time.
Smart ball player.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was interesting in that, he was asked to do very different things over the course of his career. Those old enough to remember as that ball is hammered by Marquez Smith. How about Smith?
He's got one.
Comes into this game, he draws a walk, he has a double, and now a 3-run home run for Marquez Smith. years old, native Floridian. Been in minor league baseball since 2007, 8 years worth. I bet you this is the best day he's ever had in a spring training game, regardless of organization. Good for you, young man. That'll end the inning. The Reds score 4 more. Marquez Smith touches them all. A 3-run home run. Indians will bat in the bottom of the ninth, trailing 13-1.
Hi.
Tonight at 11 on Fox Sports 1. Recap the pitching day and how good it's been. Lorenzen allowed a run in the first inning. Got through the next couple of innings unscathed. Mahalam very good. Hoover an excellent inning. Adcock a couple of strikeouts. And then the guy Chris the last couple of years it again has caught your eye from time to time. Pedro Villarreal.
Still in camp, Pedro is. He's had some control problems. He's been up and down with the Reds the last couple of years. More than likely to settle in down with the Louisville Bats. Play for Delano DeShields down there. Good guy, hard worker.
Brett Hayes will be the batter here in the Cleveland ninth inning. Fouled away. No balls and 2 strikes. Villarreal pitching 12 games for the big league club last year. 2 games in 2013. One of them as a starter. And made his major league debut with the Reds, pitching 1 game in 2012. A 7th round draft choice originally out of Howard College in Big Spring, Texas. Base hit right field. You may remember last year when Villarreal was with a big league club, he left what turned out to be his appearance on September the 8th against the Cardinals. He got hit on that right forearm on a line drive off the bat of Matt Holliday. It was a very scary moment, but Villarreal was back on the mound 4 days later. Ryan Rollinger. You hear that name and the way it's spelled, R-O-H-L-I-N-G-E-R. Wisconsin born and raised. That went into right field. That'll advance a runner first to third, and Rollinger in to second base. 2 on, nobody out against Villarreal. That'll be ruled a single and an error, charged to Bosch out in right field. So play to run. But the Reds get the first out. It's bottom of the 9th inning. That was a nice little play made there by Negron. But Chris, I want to ask you about the coaches and staff of a major league team. I mean, we see the Reds, you know, those in uniform. I mean, they're here. The Brian Prices of the world, his coaching staff. They're here at 6:30 in the morning. Game like today, by the time you jump in the shuttle, you shoot back to the complex, you talk to the press, you take a shower, you get on the road, you fight traffic depending on where you live in the area while you're out here for spring training. Jay Bell lives out here year-round. Brian Price lives out here year-round. So they're staying in their houses. That, for both those guys, is a long way away in some pretty heavy traffic this time of day. But then Jeff Pico was telling us before the game that, you know, starting today, they're starting to have those meetings now about really serious meetings about, you know, what are we thinking here? Where are we going here? What are we going to do about this? How do you like this guy in that spot? Do you like this guy as a reliever, this guy as a starter? So conceivably, you know, those guys could be sitting here tonight, and you're playing games every day. They could be sitting here tonight till 10, 11 o'clock. Is it too much in spring training, even for the coaches, to feel like they're worn out before you ever get to actually the start of a season?
You know, that's a great point, and I can't help but think the answer to that is yes. For instance, last night the Reds played night game. So they're up there late last night. They probably had some meetings and so on. They've got to be back here in a matter of probably 6 hours after Brian Price got home. He had to be back at the stadium today. So, you know, I think the front office operatives, you know, Walt Jocketty and all of his advisors and scouts that he keeps close, they probably meet on a continuous basis throughout the spring. So they have an idea. And then now towards the end, they start bringing the coaches in and getting their opinions and so on. So I think these days really are long towards the end. And that's when they're making the most difficult decisions. It's easy to cut the first 10 guys off a roster. When you're getting down the last 10 and you're not sure who's going to be healthy and how long you're going to need this one player or this one starter and so on, and who you're going to move to the bullpen. That's when those decisions get very tough, and you want to make sure you talk them out because you've got a lot of ramifications that go on.
I mean, you see Walden, you know, the vice president, assistant general manager, Dick Williams, Jerry Walker,
Mike Squires,
Cam Bonifay, yeah.
Kevin Towers, who just came on board this year with Walt Jocketty as a senior advisor, former general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Jeff Graupe and his staff as director of player development. These guys are here seemingly morning, noon, and night.
You know,
Sam Grossman and then the whole baseball analytics side of the front office.
The interesting thing is that I'd love to know the real dynamics, because it's up to the general manager normally to decide what the roster is, and then up to the field manager, Brian Price, to decide how to use that roster. But I'm always interested to see how much input the field manager has on that 25-man roster.
Indians perhaps down to their final strike. They're down to their final out. Reds with a 13-2 lead. Indians scored in the first, and They've scored here in the ninth. Villarreal trying to tie a ribbon around this one, and this should do it. Glove side for Negron, and that's that. So the Reds get excellent pitching today again. 13 runs, 19 hits in round 2, a 13-2 rout of the Indians. I want to thank our producer Josh Hall, our director Roy Alfers, Warren White, our graphics coordinator, and our entire crew. We remind you the next time we will convene here on Fox Sports Ohio. Opening day, April the 6th. The Reds and the Pirates. Our coverage starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. Jim Day will be co-hosting the Findlay Market Parade. Coverage there starts at noon. Come on downtown. Hopefully we'll be blessed with a beautiful opening day weather-wise. Reds Live, an hour and a half, gets underway at 2:30, including the entire on-field ceremony. And then the Pirates v. Redlegs get underway at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Johnny Cueto v. Francisco Liriano. Chris, can't wait to get together then.
Looking forward to it, Tom. Hey, big season underway. Looking forward to working with you a whole bunch this year, and hope we have a lot of Reds wins to call.
Thank all of you for joining us. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait for opening day in Cincinnati, April the 6th. An early happy Easter to all of you. And have a great weekend.